RWBY Volume 4, Episode 11, Taking Control. Really love this episode. Sadly, it is the penultimate episode of the season because next week is our season finale, which is really sad news, but of course we do have RWBY Chibi Season 2 coming out. That's supposed to be in May, and I couldn't believe this news when I first read it, but Volume 5 is coming out this year. So we aren't waiting our normal kind of year-long gap like we normally do. We're going to have the end of this season, sadly, next week, and then we have Volume 5 coming in fall. So it doesn't give any specifics, it just says fall. So sometime within the same year, we're getting, 2 volumes. So that is phenomenal news. I can't wait to, of course, get to Volume 5. But this is a good episode, and I think I mentioned this before. I think it was only 2 or 3 episodes ago, but whenever they do a lot of stories in one, it's just really good. We get to see everything that's happening for every single story, and I love that idea. And of course, the last episode was absolutely phenomenal, but it's just really fun seeing all the characters throughout the entire thing. And I was surprised that we even got the lead in. I wasn't thinking about it, but I was like, yeah, with the next episode being the finale, which I wasn't 100% sure about. I typically try not to know when the show's going to end because I prefer to just be surprised, especially for a show like this where it's like the episodes are already shorter. I don't want to torture myself knowing just one step closer to the end. I hate doing that to myself, so I kind of just stay away from all that. But man, I was very surprised by just the way they did this episode, but I loved every single second of it. We got to see Yang spray painting the arm, which was cool. I hadn't even considered that as an idea, but that was really awesome. And she uncovers her motorcycle. I'm assuming based on the face that she makes that she's going to go after RWBY, because it seemed like kind of a smirk, like, I'm going to do what I know is the smart choice. That's just kind of how it seemed. It was like a split second and she kind of smirked a little. So I'm guessing she's going to go after RWBY rather than going to find her mother. And I'm sure she'll show up. Maybe she'll show up in the finale. I'm assuming that we're going to get, of course, an extended episode. Maybe we'll get, basically a 30-minute episode next week. But who knows what we're going to see from it. I mean, there were a million different plot lines shown in this. One of which that I really loved, we got to see the villains again. And we haven't seen the villains in forever, not counting the fight sequence. And I guess technically in the last episode we did get to see one of them, but he just he crushed a machine and helped, Oscar get a ticket, so no, that wasn't really much. But this was an interesting one with Cinder, where she's fighting against the Grimm, and she's using her abilities and stuff. At first, I got myself super amped up. I thought it was a flashback to her fighting against Ozpin, so I was a little sad when the visuals actually came in, because it was just, a black screen and it was just fire. I was like, holy crap, we're going to get a flashback. And then, sadly, it was just her training. I was like, oh, that sucks. I kind of amped myself up really fast for that. But her going against the Grimm was pretty cool. And what was very interesting is that I was like, okay, she seems to be struggling a tiny bit, mostly with that last Grimm, because, she kind of gets surprised by it, but she just, destroys it. And Salem comes in, and she's like, I thought you were the one who wanted to have power. And it was very interesting. It seems like either, I don't know, I mean, they're doing some interesting stuff. I thought, Emerald was going to be the one that kind of joined the heroes and stuff, but they kind of make it seem like Emerald, as well as Cinder, might end up joining the heroes later, or, well, maybe not in this volume, but in the next volume. And it was very interesting. She comes in, and she still can't speak. She's still, much weaker than she was before, although she has this great power. And maybe it's just the fact that she's seen what RWBY can do, and how RWBY clearly couldn't control what she'd done, and maybe she's scared that that'll happen to her. Although RWBY's totally fine, but who knows? We don't know what happened in that specific moment. It could, that probably traumatized you. Of course, considering the power destroyed half her face, that might freak her out a little to have that power, come from within herself. So that could be a part of it. Maybe it's just difficult to learn. I mean, she stole a maiden's power. She half had the power to begin with, and then she got the rest of it, and it's probably a lot more than she expected. And then right after that, she has her one weakness exploited by RWBY, who activates her secret abilities. So there's kind of a lot in that one moment where it's finally I have all this power and I took out one of the heroes, and then this crazy thing happened where there's a giant dragon Grimm frozen in place and I lost half my face. So there's a lot going on there. Who knows why she's kind of hesitant to either use her powers or if she's just naturally not able to do it because it's just tough. But we get a glimpse of that. Tyrion comes in. At first he's kind of sad and it's like, he failed. And then he goes through and he's attacking the Grimm. And he's still crying and stuff. And then it starts to get to him like, I actually like killing stuff. So he does his crazy laugh and his tongue comes out and he's just nuts. So I was like, alright, well, I think he's feeling a little bit better. And then we move on to, like I mentioned, with Yang and stuff. And then we go to Weiss after that, I believe, if I have my order correct. And Weiss simply breaks out. They had a great scene. I mentioned this a couple of times now, but I just like Ironwood is like so much cooler in this volume than he was before. Like ever since it was kind of revealed that he really does care about the people. He's just been better and better every time I see him, and he's arguing with Jacques, and I hate that guy so much, but we'll see where that goes. And I don't know if Weiss kind of outed herself. I thought it was weird that they had her lock the door, which I did think was cool, admittedly. But I just thought, why didn't she just use the glyphs on herself and just run really fast? We've seen her do that before. And I just thought that was interesting that she held it. And I was like, well, it just seemed like it would have made way more sense to just run really fast. But either way, it was like a minor moment, and she does end up escaping. And she's going to find her sister. And I'm excited to see how that plays out, which, once again, I doubt we'll get to see that in this volume, but that should be fun to see them work together. I hope that's how it plays out, at least, that they do actually end up working together. And we get the reveal once it moves on to Blake's storyline that Adam is working to take over the White Fang, and he's working to take out the current leader, who we still haven't met yet, but that's his plan, is to basically have a coup. And he becomes the leader, and he's still working with, Salem and the rest of them. So that should be something. And I don't know if we're going to see that play out in this next episode. It's really hard to say. With the opening, that's the one thing we haven't really seen yet, is Blake versus Adam. So I don't know if he really will show up in the finale or how that's supposed to play out, but it was very interesting that Blake was like, no, we aren't going to destroy the White Fang, we're going to take it back. So I'm excited for that to play out. We might get to see her mom and her dad fight with her and son, which I think would be absolutely amazing to see their abilities and how cool they are. And then it's like, alright, so we got the stories and stuff like that, and it just cuts to this super dramatic ending, and it's just Nora and Ren running, and they're just sprinting. And at first I couldn't tell if they were running from it or towards it or what was really happening, because they were, they were on the mountaintop. So I'm like, I can't tell where in the chaos this really is. And then, we find out that they're running towards Jean, Ruby, and Crow. And they get there and it's like, okay, everything seems fine. And then, I don't know, I guess Ren's ability, I mean, it's not his semblance, like, I don't know, he has this ability, it's almost like he has two semblances a little bit, because he has this, like, really great perception ability where he can sense stuff from far away, and maybe it's specifically danger-based, and maybe that's just a part of his semblance where, him being able to basically drain his emotions, it allows him to also sense, like, super heightened emotions, specifically with Tyrion, and, I keep forgetting that, I think it's called, like, a Knucklebeef or something like that. I keep saying it wrong every time, but I forgot. But maybe it's one of his like very malevolent creatures. That's why he's able to sense it so well. Because he just stopped and he drops to his knees, and it was maybe like 2 more steps before Jean's like, "Hey, you guys hear that?" And of course this thing comes around, and I cannot wait to see what happens. This was a really great episode. We got to see all the girls. We got to see a ton of characters, actually, way more than I would have expected. But it was really good. Getting, spray painting her arm, she's getting her jacket, or eventually she's going to get, like, the big duster jacket, but she's got her motorcycle, her gauntlet, her arm. Weiss is running around with her blade, which I thought was kind of funny that she didn't have, like, the case, but, it kind of made a lot of sense, like, when she has to use the glyph. But I was thinking, she needs one of these, so she can just run around with it, but that would just get in her way. Like, there'd be no reason to have a sheath for her blade. But it was a really good episode, and I cannot wait for this finale. I'm kind of worried, but at the same time, I don't know if I need to be. It's really hard to tell with this volume, because this has been a really, a big build-up volume. Like, some people have complained about that, and that is how the volume has been. It has been a lot of just a couple of things have really happened. If you kind of go through it all at once, it's like there's like, the big fight scene with Tyrion. There were a couple of little reveals and stuff with Raven and Crow when they were talking, and of course certain backstories with Nora and Ren. But ultimately, it's kind of just been here are a couple of hints, and it's mostly just what's to come. That's really what we've had for this volume, and I've still enjoyed it. There's still been some, of course, great episodes, but it's hard to say what they're gonna definitively end with this volume. Like, I would assume, of course, the creature is going to be killed, but how is the question? Is this creature going to be too tough for them? Is Crow going to have to step in and sacrifice himself? Could he even do that because he seems so weak at this point? But you just never really know. Is Raven going to end up coming in to save them? There are a million possibilities for this, but no matter what, I'm very excited for the finale. I hate to say that it's the finale, and it just feels weird when you have a series that's so fun, and then it's just like, 12 episodes, and then poof, it's gone like that. But I am very excited for this finale, of course. Would love to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please put your comments down in the comment section below. What are your favorite parts, least favorite parts about this episode? And as always, when the finale is coming up, I just want to know your theories. What are we getting from this last episode? Where are we headed with this? Who's going to fight? Who's going to live? Who's going to die? If anyone's going to die. There are at least 2 for sure action sequences that they could go into. I doubt they'll go into too much of the stuff with Blake and Son and Blake's family, simply because that's just a much bigger venture than we got 4 people dealing with one of the Grimm. That's 4 people going up against an entire organization. Blake's dad will probably end up recruiting a ton of people because he has such great favor with everyone in the village as like the leader. So there's a lot that basically I think could be like almost a full-scale war if they wanted to go that route. So I don't think we'll get too much of that. I think it's mostly going to be Team Ranger and whatever ends up happening with them. I'm sure we'll get to, with it being the finale, I'm sure we will see Yang, Weiss, and Blake as well, and where they end up by the finale. But there's just a lot of possibilities for how this next big battle is going to end up, and who could potentially come into it, and just all the ways that it could go. So I would love to know your theories on what we're getting from the finale. Not just the fight, but just in general, what you think we'll get from the finale. And like I said, I want to know what you guys thought about the episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.